All right, guys. Happy Friday. Welcome to a Friday edition of Good Stuff. We've got Nick, TJ, and Eric on the call. I'm James. So a lot of good stuff yesterday, right?
Think so.
Um,
At least, yeah, sounds like it.
yeah. So one of the biggest breaking thing yesterday was the announcement of a plan to phase in kind of reopening of the economy. And selfishly for the gym side, we were included in phase one of that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys been able to kind of check out the plan?
I have not in depth. TJ sent it over to the staff, and we all just kind of skimmed through it. I think a lot of us probably just stopped at like, "Hey, phase one, gyms, woohoo!" and just kind of left it there. But that's me, anyways.
I mean, I guess at some point too, there's just not much you can do about it. If it reopens. But there's so many other variables in play that it's still hard to bank on. But it's a good sign that hopefully, if this kind of sticks to the plan, of the proposed plan, that gyms are on the forefront of this.
Do they give any kind of time frame when they might be launching this phase one? Or are we looking at like May or?
The thing is, all it's based around testing.
No, yeah, it's a federal idea, but each state's governor can or will still abide by their own separate timeline, based on their own separate definitions and their own separate curriculum. So there's like best in class, based around testing, based around resurgence, based around, their implications on whether or not it's appropriate. So I mean, you will definitely see certain states unwind this before others. Which will, be great for certain communities to start moving. But for your bigger states, your higher population density states, it's probably going to be, like you thought, May, June, God forbid, July, or so on.
Has any state come up with a date that they're going to initiate the phase one? Or is it everyone's at zero right now?
I think it's still too early because a lot of it's going to be based on data. And that's why they kind of separated out into three different phases. So ideally phase one, let's say you throw this date out for, May 1st, and then there's 2 weeks. If the data moves in the right direction, then you can move on to phase two. But if there's a backpedaling of the data, if there's an increase of positive tests or deaths or something like that, then you're either held back to phase one or you go back to, the stay-at-home order.
So we should really, I think gym owners and all of us, every small business owner should really more be looking at this as the government at least giving some best practices out there for all of the local governors to follow as they start to reopen. Maybe setting, dare I say it, maybe just a tad bit of leadership from the top. Like maybe we would recommend that you follow these best practices, that phase one should maybe have these types of businesses in it, phase two should follow these, and phase three, so on and so forth. But they would enact that on their own schedule.
What I'd be really curious to see is what the different guidelines are on the social distancing in each of those phases. So like, what does phase one social distancing look like from a business standpoint? If you are allowed to have, open your doors back up, and as a fitness facility, you're still going to be limited to the capacity. Like, are there any? It would be nice to see some of those guidelines ahead of time so we can maybe at least plan out what phase one looks like, whether or not we were able to implement this, May 1 or push out to June, whatever it is. But at least you can plan for that level of operations versus it just tomorrow the governor switches, flips a switch and says, hey, we're in phase one. You can start letting in 5 people per, 10,000 square feet.
Right. I think that's going to
a lot of things.
I think that's where the definitions are going to come into place. And I think that's up to what each individual state governor potentially mandates. So, it's not going to be business as usual. It's going to be a percentage of your business can open back up. I mean, the discussion around even restaurants are, if you have to reduce your table size or, whatever, down to a quarter, and then a month later it can go to half, and then a month later it can go to 3/4. I mean, gym owners need to be planning for that same kind of a thing where it's not just cap classes. It might be an actual number based on your square footage. Who knows?
Yeah.
I
And feel
kind of
like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like how we engineered it going forward into this lockdown. It's like where they cut us to 500 people, 250 people, then it got down to 100, and they got down to 10. It's like, I wonder if they're just going to start back at 10 and then get it to 100, and then, you know, you continue to just, increase it just a little bit. But yeah, some of these strict guidelines will be interesting to see.
So still a ton of speculation, but I guess the big thing is it's a good sign that that this is hopefully it's going to be a little bit more of a smooth rollout. There's a planned rollout for hopefully reintegration. So for Nick and TJ, since you guys run a business and you're in, let's say, in the trenches, well, I guess what's your response to this? You know?
Well, TJ and I talked a little bit about it this morning, just in regards to like kind of what he said, unwinding the same way we kind of got wound into this, and also understanding that it may not necessarily happen that way. And so they may say that there's a restriction of 10 people in a building of 5,000 square feet or less at any one time, right? Like, or something. They may put some very strict guidelines in place for kind of their phase one version here in Kansas. And so I think for us, some of the stuff is just not getting married to the older ideas that we had. Like normally, for example, like classes are 3:30, 4:35, 36, 37, 30 in the evenings. Well, maybe we need to go to where there's a 20-minute gap between classes to give time for the one class to leave and the next group to come in, you know? So like, not saying like, hey, just because we've always done it this way for 9 years or 8 years or whatever is the way that we have to do it for this. Not saying we can't get back to it, but it may not look that way for a couple months, you know?
Right. So you just got to be open to having a way different operation.
Yeah. Totally different way of operating. We, you know, like gaps between classes. I even talked to Nick about programming, time to clean up, you know, give our members opportunity to wipe everything down, and then our members knowing that there is that gap between classes. And so it is safe to come in here, because Nick and I talk about this a lot, just from like a fear standpoint. A lot of our members are just scared to leave their house. So to try to get them back in here, and knowing that we have, you know, these things in place where, you know, the equipment's clean, there's gaps between classes, there's no more than 10 people here. I think just from a mindset, you know, allowing our members to know that when they come here, they're going to be safe. So
I think one of the things that I think Eric, we might have discussed it last week, you know, kind of before you start bringing in small group classes, maybe it's being able to service kind of hybrid or PT one-on-one clients first, you know, a lot more controlled environment.
I dig it. I mean, that's agreed. I mean, I know Nick and I had this conversation about what a hybrid model looks like, or what a hybrid model could present as far as options, because really the idea now is no one's returning back to business as usual, probably ever. And you're going to have a stratified setting of offerings. And what's, you know, the easiest way to calm or quell people's fears is to get very personal very quickly. And so if you can start it by doing one-on-ones, or start it by doing one-on-twos or one-on-threes or one-on-fours, you're below the threshold, so you can service them, so you can get your doors back open, and you start connecting again at the human level. And if you do that well, you may end up, I mean, let's just draw a circle back to business. You might end up selling more one-on-one packages anyway, out of your group model, which is a higher price point, which is a higher revenue anyway. So you can start filling in, you know, the holes that you created being closed for 2 months.
Dude, that's such a great point. If you have ever looked at your business and thought, man, I wish we would have done this differently. Like one of ours is like, I wish we had reservations for every class. And when we've surveyed our clients in the past, they basically had commented that they would freaking revolt if we ever implemented it. But what we've just gone through changes that mindset to where now I'm just thankful that I can work out someplace other than my freaking living room. And if that comes with a new rule, if that comes with a new adjustment, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you kind of touch on I think an awesome opportunity idea is if you wanted to change anything about your offering, your service, your business at all, now's the time to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, because revamp all your processes right now.
Right. Use this time to just, make the business that you wanted to, because now everyone's a lot more kind of open to change, so if you were to throw something else or kind of make a slight pivot or have a different kind of offering, there'd be a lot more, I think, a lot more members, a lot more of the, your gym population to be open to whatever it is that you're trying to propose.
We're all a ton more malleable. We're becoming teachers as parents at home. We're becoming Zoom aficionados.
At the same time.
Yeah, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not revamping all your processes right now. I think businesses going forward are going to be fundamentally different. And if you're not trying to fine tune everything when you have the time to do so, I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, awesome, guys.
Plus, lastly, any new clients coming on board won't know any different. They'll think this is just business as usual, so they'll be used to it.
Yep.
Yeah. So for anyone watching this video, I'd love to hear what you guys, what ideas you guys have in terms of what your business looks like in the future, or what you want to do now that we can maybe start laying the groundwork for. Let's get that in the comments and start throwing some ideas, and we can bounce it back and forth. You guys got anything else to add?
My classes look a lot like this.
More crop tops.
Yeah,
more crop tops.
Yeah.
We're all trying to get TJ to work out in his crop top.
Yeah, or put on a hat.
This will go from the good stuff to the bad stuff real quick.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for your time today. And just some last minute plugs. Make sure to check out, we have a really awesome series in the trenches that Eric has been producing, and it's a lot of really good content where he sits down with different owners and leaders in the community and understanding what their leadership strategies are, specifically in this time, which I think is very valuable. And also, Zach's not on this call, but today we just dropped another edition of the Good Stuff newsletter. So a lot of the things that we talk about on a daily on our daily calls here, we wrap it up into a weekly newsletter. Lots of cool links. So definitely check that out. If you are not part of that newsletter, just head to pushpress.com. We'll see a subscribe button there. We'll make sure to get in your inbox there, guys. All right.